By now, you've probably heard about our Oklahoma Proven program that is put on by our horticulture department here at OSU. Nursery professionals and horticulture persons all across the state get together and give us input, where we then take and select a tree, a shrub, a perennial, and an annual that we recommend planting for Oklahoma. 2002 is the 4th year for the program, and as you'd expect, we've got some really nice plants for your landscape. The tree for this year is the Bur Oak, like we have right here behind me. And it is a native oak, native to Oklahoma, and you can see by the graphic on your screen, the native range of this tree extends way out into western Oklahoma. So that lets us know that it's a very tough tree. It's slow growing, so that means it has very strong wood, had very little damage from the ice storm, and it handles drought very well and city pollution. It just makes a really good shade tree for your lawn. The tree is in the white oak group as opposed to the red oak group, and it gets its common name, Bur Oak, from the shape of the caps, or this little fringe here on the top of the acorn caps. Kind of looks like burrs. Well, the botanical name is Quercus macrocarpa, and macrocarpa refers to large fruit. And you can see just the size of the cap in comparison to the shoemarred oak acorn. I couldn't find any of the Bur Oak acorns because the squirrels and other critters had gathered them up around here. But it is the largest oak species in the United States. But you might think about the Bur Oak if you're shopping for a nice shade tree for your landscape. The Oklahoma Proven shrub for 2002 is this plant, the Japanese Kerria. This is sometimes called the Japanese rose, and occasionally you'll see it named the Korean rose. And the plants are in the rose family. The flowers look similar to roses also. They look like small yellow carnations or small yellow roses. The species has single petals, but the variety that we see a lot of times in the garden and the variety that we have on our poster is one called Flora plena, and that means it has double the flower petals, so it has a little bit different look. The plants are deciduous, meaning that they drop their leaves in the fall, but as you can see, the stems remain green throughout the winter, so this gives us a little bit of color during the winter time. The Japanese Kerria is very adaptable. It'll handle most soils except maybe a really heavy, poorly drained clay. And another good thing about the shrub is that they can handle quite a bit of shade. We've got this one here in the shade of our loblolly pine, and they will probably flower best if they have morning sun and a little bit of afternoon shade. In fact, if they're in full sun, the flowers tend to bleach a little bit. Well, those flowers will come out in April, kind of as the leaves are just starting to come out. So they bloom on old wood, and that means we don't want to do any pruning to this until after that first flush of flowering is over. The plants will also reward us with a few blooms throughout the season on the new growth. Well, down at the bottom here you can see that there are lots of stems coming out at different places in the ground, so it's more of a spreading type of shrub. Every few years it'd be a good idea to take a spade and just dig up some of the plant along the outside edges and then plant those in another spot in your yard or share them with your neighbors. The Japanese Kerria will get about 4 to 5 feet tall with about a 5 to 6 foot spread, and the stems will tend to kind of arch over to kind of give it a rounded look. And it makes a wonderful addition to our landscapes. Our Oklahoma Proven Perennial for 2002 is the very showy Magnus purple coneflower like we have right here. Now these plants normally don't bloom this time of the year. We force them to bloom in the greenhouse so we could show you on our program. The plants will bloom heavily in early summer, in May and June, and then sporadically throughout the rest of the summer, and even more if you keep them deadheaded. The botanical name is Echinacea purpurea, and we actually have Echinacea purpurea native to southeastern Oklahoma. So that right there lets us know that this plant is going to do pretty well for us. The cultivar Magnus was actually selected in Sweden by a nurseryman by the name of Magnus Nielsen a few years back. This plant was the 1998 Perennial Plant of the Year, and it is a real winner in our Oklahoma gardens. One of the differences that Magnus has over some of the other purple coneflowers is that the ray florets are held more stiffly. They don't droop as bad as some of the other purple coneflowers, but a wonderful selection for your landscape. The annual for this year is one of our ornamental sweet potatoes, and this is the cultivar Margarita. It's got this beautiful gold or chartreuse foliage, and the plants are actually quite vigorous in the landscape. You put one plant in a nice rich soil, give it fairly adequate moisture, and the plants will spread a good 6 feet by 6 feet and only get about 8 inches tall. And for that reason, you don't want to plant them near a very small plant because they could overtake it. But they look very good spilling out of terraces and different containers. And if you plant these in a container, you really only need one plant because it will have plenty of energy and spill out and look really good. The plants do produce edible tuberous roots, just like the other sweet potatoes, but believe me, they're not as tasty as some of our more traditional sweet potatoes. Well, I hope you look for the Oklahoma Proven plants when you go to your nursery or garden center this year. And when you walk in the nursery, look for these posters that announce the program, our Oklahoma Proven program. And not only do we have the posters, but also you may see some of these billboards or these other placards out in the nursery near where the plants are for sale. So good luck with your Oklahoma Proven plants this year.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.